Hey, what's up? Today we're looking at the Osma, the 90-second cold brew espresso vibration machine. So this thing's been on my radar for a while, and I've heard bad things mostly from people who really know what they're talking about, and mediocre things from people who seem to not know as much. So since I sit somewhere in the middle here, I wanted to really take a look at this thing, and Osma was nice enough to send me a unit for review, and I did not like it at first. I made coffee with it, and my initial thought was like, wow, that is truly horrible. That is a terrible under-extracted cup of coffee, and I never want to touch this again. And I didn't touch it for a couple days, and I thought, you know what? I'm looking at this all wrong. This is not a cold brew making machine. This is not an espresso machine. Of course, they market it as a cold brew whatever. This does not make cold brew. It will never make cold brew. It is not capable of making cold brew. Once you kind of come to terms with the fact that this machine is built to create an entirely new and entirely unique form of coffee, you can get some very delicious brews out of this thing. And today I want to talk about how I did that. First though, let's just do a little bit of a review. The outside is pretty nice. I love this brutalist design. I don't know, it speaks to me. I think it's cool. It gets dirty pretty easily, and unless you're using a microfiber cloth, this coating is going to scrape up anything and everything off of that paper towel or rag that you're using. Microfiber cloth is like the only way. The edges here, I cut myself on the edge of this machine almost immediately. When taking it out of the box, I cut my arm on the edges of this machine. It's extremely sharp. I don't know if that's a complaint for me, really. Like, I know I injured myself on it. I don't know if it's a complaint because I don't like people touching my stuff, and that's a nice deterrent. My biggest complaint about the build of this machine is that the power cord is 8 feet long. This is a countertop appliance. What the fuck do I need 8 feet for? Look at this. Look at this. This is insane. 8 feet. I unraveled this thing and I was just like, holy shit. That is a long power cord for something that's going to be sitting on my counter. Like, what am I, plugging it in the basement? 8 feet? No. No. Bring it back a little bit, Osma. That's my complaint. That's my big complaint. Now I just want to kind of demonstrate how this thing works. If you're watching this video, you've probably seen the Osma in action, but I do just want to run through it real quick. So the machine, instead of using heat to extract coffee, uses vibration, which is pretty cool. It's unique, it's something entirely new, and I think it's pretty cool. Like, I'm a fan of that. Do I think that it works perfectly? Absolutely not. There are things to do though. So here's how they recommend to use it. They give you a sheet of instructions, just one page, one printed out page, and the first thing you want to do with this is just throw it away because it's kind of worthless. The instructions are worthless. You need to really get into this machine and learn how to use it for you. Those instructions, I tried them, and that's what made the results that I didn't like. So we're just going to pulse a few times for the pre-infusion. The water's not hot. The pre-infusion really is not doing anything, but we're going to do it anyway. And you can see how quickly this coffee comes out. And as that coffee expands from the water, it is going to slow down substantially. You'll hear the motor working, or the acoustic cavitator, whatever you want to call it, working. The pump is probably the right word. And then it stalls. And you've basically got your coffee. Something about this machine is there's no solenoid valve or anything. So this puck in here is going to be very, very sloppy. So always, if you buy this, always remove your beverage from underneath before you remove the portafilter, because you're undoubtedly going to be getting a bunch of stuff coming out of here, because it's you know. So after the Osma has brewed, you get this sort of draft-like coffee. And again, I don't want to call it cold brew because this does not make cold brew. This was a medium roast, like honey Costa Rica, I think. Really great coffee. But what I get out of it, like even from just smelling it, is like all like sour, like grass. It's very, very under extracted. Yeah, I mean, I'd probably peg that at like maybe a 1.2 TDS. Very, very, very weak. And there are other flavors in here that I'm getting that I don't normally get out of any coffee, whether it's under extracted or not. And that's one of the benefits of the Osma, is that you get flavors that are either destroyed by time, through like a long toddy method of cold brew, or heat, which is through almost every other form of brewing. And it made me question, are those flavors, are those compounds, are those elements worth preserving? Are they something that is tasty? And I'm not sure. I don't think so. Maybe to some people, but not to me. It's not my thing. This is just very, to me, the flavors that I'm getting taste very weak, and I'm not about it. Ugh. So what I decided to do was I wanted to take an element from every other form of brewing, including some forms of cold brew, which is pre-infusion or blooming. So for espresso, it would be called pre-infusion, and for every other form of coffee, it's basically just blooming. And for cold brew, you have what's called hot blooming, where you bloom the coffee with hot water before you actually start the extraction process. So that's something that I decided to try with the Osma. What I chose to do was to not put hot water through the pump, and instead I took the portafilter basket and I bloomed using my kettle. I almost did a pour over motion with the coffee grounds in the portafilter, let it soak through. The coffee expanded quite a bit, and you end up with an expanded puck that not only will help you avoid having to waste like 25 grams of coffee at minimum, which is what the Osma recommends, and instead you can use 20 to 21 grams because the coffee has expanded so much. You don't get that kind of expansion with the room temperature water that the Osma requires. So I've got some data here, and I don't want to bog this down too heavily with data, but I am going to give you sort of a benchmark, okay? So for normal cold brew, you expect a total dissolved solid rate of anywhere between 1.8 to 2.5% total dissolved solids. Let me just leave that there so you understand. Using a 21 gram dose with that medium dark roast coffee, I got a TDS reading of 1.62. That's probably, in the area of what I have here. Severely under extracted, and just all around, it's not going to be very tasty. Once I introduce the hot bloom and doing everything else the exact same way, including the dose being 21 grams, I got a TDS reading of 2.44 and a total extraction of 18.91. That's more like it. When you introduce one simple step of a hot pre-infusion, not running through the pump, mind you, but directly poured into the portafilter over the coffee, you're going to get a really good product, I think. Please excuse the casual nature of my conclusion here. I'm editing this video right now, and there were some audio problems with the video I took earlier, so here we are. So in conclusion, the Osma, when used as intended, not great, leaving a lot to be desired, especially in the way of extraction. I found a lot of the coffee I got out of the Osma when used as intended was really, really under extracted and pretty gross, honestly. But after introducing the hot pre-infusion, I like it. I got some really, really tasty coffee out of it. Under extracted still by just a bit, but I'm sure that can be worked out through a little bit more playing around. I'm really curious to see where the Osma goes from here, because at its current price, I don't see it becoming like a very, very overly popular consumer brand. It's about $700, which is too much. I think if they continue marketing it as a cold brew machine, they're not going to see it grip the coffee world the way that they'd like it to. But I really think if they leaned more heavily into the fact that this machine doesn't make cold brew, it doesn't make espresso, it makes something entirely unique, I think that they really could find some success there, even at the $700 price point, because coffee people will buy anything, like embarrassingly so. And I think that the Osma, if they manage to change their marketing up a bit, and if they added a hot bloom to the cold brewing regimen, you know, and I know it kind of defeats the purpose of like not using heat and really fast cold brew, but adding like 30 seconds to pour some hot water over the puck, it's still faster than an 18 to 24 hour toddy. And I really still got those unique flavors that would have otherwise been lost to time or heat. So in closing, the Osma is a really, really cool product, very unique, but as it is right now, I wouldn't recommend it to someone who's not willing to put in the work to really make the Osma work for them. You need to really be willing to put in some legwork to make the Osma a counter-worthy coffee brewer. Thanks for watching my video, guys. I hope that you liked it. I don't do YouTube a lot because it stresses me out, and it gives me what the kids call imposter syndrome. So thanks for coming. Thanks for being here.